My name is Marianne Holloway. I'm 36 years old. And the moment my marriage ended didn't arrive with screaming or slammed doors. It arrived quietly, calmly, in a conference room that smelled like stale coffee and carpet cleaner. 4 words. 4 words that rewrote my life in real time. I don't want the child, but I'm getting ahead of myself. For most of our marriage, I believed we were normal. Not perfect, not cinematic, just steady. My husband Daniel and I had been married for 8 years, together for 10. We met in our late 20s, both ambitious, both convinced that love was something you scheduled around work, not something that replaced it. Daniel worked in corporate strategy, high visibility, high pressure, promotions tied to performance metrics and optics. I admired his drive. I told myself his ambition meant stability for our family. We had our daughter, Lily, 3 years into the marriage. She was 5 now, curious, gentle, still believed adults knew what they were doing. Looking back, that belief was the first thing to shatter. About a year before the divorce, Daniel changed. Not dramatically, not in ways you can point to and say that's when it broke. He started working later, traveling more, trips that stretched an extra day, calls he took in the hallway with the door half closed, a new impatience in his voice when I asked simple questions. I asked him once if everything was okay. He said work was demanding, said I wouldn't understand the pressure. I didn't argue, I adjusted. I took on more at home. School pickups, homework, dinner, bedtime, doctor appointments, birthday RSVPs. Daniel would come home around 9, eat whatever I'd left for him, then disappear into his office again. The distance grew slowly, quietly, like water seeping under a door. 3 months ago on a Saturday morning, Daniel asked for a divorce. Our daughter was at my mother's house for the weekend. That timing wasn't accidental. I want a divorce, he said, stirring his coffee like he was discussing a scheduling conflict. I remember thinking the coffee had gone cold in my hands before I even realized I was holding the mug too tightly. What? I asked. I'm not happy, he said. I haven't been for a while. I want out. I suggested counseling. He said no. I asked when he'd decided this. He said he'd already spoken to a lawyer. That was the moment something in me shifted. Not anger, something colder. A week later, I hired my own lawyer. He told me to document everything: parenting routines, finances, communication. Every moment I'd been present while Daniel had been elsewhere. 2 months of negotiations followed. Emails, proposals, counteroffers. Our life reduced to spreadsheets. Then came mediation. Last week, downtown office, glass walls, corporate neutrality. Daniel sat across from me, calm, detached. His lawyer began listing his demands. The house, accounts, cars. Then, without hesitation, Daniel added the line that froze the room. And I don't want custody. She can have full custody. I don't want the child. The mediator stopped writing. My lawyer's pen hovered mid-word. Even Daniel's lawyer went pale. I stared at the man I had married. You don't want Lily? I asked. No, he said. I'm starting a new position. It requires travel, long hours. I can't be a single parent. She's 5, I said. I know how old she is, he replied. You're better with her anyway. That was when I understood. This wasn't a breakdown. It was a calculation. And in that moment, I realized this divorce wasn't something happening to me. It was something I could control. I nodded. Fine, I said. Everyone looked at me. Fine, I'll take full custody, sole custody. Daniel blinked. And just like that, the balance of power shifted. The word fine still hung in the air like something dangerous. My lawyer looked at me first. Not surprised exactly, but alert. The way someone looks when they realize the rules of the game have just changed. Daniel's lawyer recovered enough to clear his throat. Perhaps we should take a moment, he said carefully. Discuss this privately. There's nothing to discuss, Daniel replied. His tone was steady, almost relieved. I've thought about this. It's the logical choice. Logical. That word landed harder than the 4 before it. I looked at the mediator. She was staring at Daniel now, no longer neutral. The professionalism hadn't cracked, but the judgment had slipped through anyway. You understand what full custody means, she said. This isn't symbolic. This is legal and physical custody, decision-making authority, primary residence. Yes, Daniel said. I understand. I turned to my lawyer. He raised his eyebrows slightly, a silent question. Are you sure? I was. Sole legal and physical custody, I said clearly. No standard visitation schedule unless he requests one. Daniel's lawyer leaned forward. My client should maintain. Does your client want custody? I asked. The room stilled again. Daniel didn't hesitate. He shook his head once. No. My lawyer's fingers were already moving across his laptop. Rapid, precise, the sound of keys filling the silence as he rewrote the agreement in real time. In exchange, I continued, my voice steadier than I felt, I want the house, the primary savings account, and the newer car. Daniel's lawyer inhaled sharply. That's not equitable. It is, I said. He's voluntarily relinquishing custody of his child. That changes every calculation you walked in with. My lawyer slid the revised document across the table. My client is prepared to sign today, he said. If your client agrees, no further negotiations. I watched Daniel read. Really watched him. His eyes moved quickly. Numbers, clauses, asset divisions. Not once did his expression shift at the custody section. Not once did he pause at Lily's name. He was weighing square footage against responsibility, liquid assets against a 5-year-old, and he chose. He picked up the pen, signed, initialed every page. No hesitation, no tears, no glance in my direction. When he slid the papers back to his lawyer, the man actually froze. For a second, his chest didn't rise. He stared at Daniel like he was seeing him for the first time. Are you certain? He asked quietly. This is permanent. Yes, Daniel said. I can read. I signed next. My lawyer signed as witness. The mediator followed, her mouth a thin line. 8 years ended on a Tuesday afternoon. 3 weeks later, the divorce was finalized. Fast, clean, efficient. I kept the house, the savings, the car, and full custody of my daughter. Daniel got the investment portfolio, the old car, and the life he wanted. He moved out that weekend, while Lily was at school. I made sure of it. That night, I sat my daughter down after dinner and tried to find words that wouldn't break her. Mommy and Daddy are going to live in different houses now. Why? Because sometimes grown-ups need different things. She nodded, thinking, processing. Where will I live? With me, I said quickly. In your room, with all your toys. When is Daddy coming back? The question hollowed me out. He's not coming back to live here, I said carefully. But you can still see him sometimes. When? When he has time. She looked down at her hands. Doesn't Daddy want to see me? I smiled and lied. Of course he does. She cried herself to sleep that night. I stayed in the chair beside her bed, watching her breathe, wondering how a parent could trade a child for convenience. The next morning, Daniel texted. Is she okay? No, I replied. She thinks you don't love her. I do, he wrote. This is just better for everyone. Better for you, I typed. He didn't respond. And just like that, silence became permanent. The house felt wrong without him. Not emptier, just quieter in a way that made every sound echo. The refrigerator hum. The tick of the clock over the stove. Lily's footsteps as she moved from room to room like she was searching for something she couldn't name. Daniel had packed efficiently. Clothes, shoes, electronics. None of Lily's artwork from the fridge. None of the photos from the hallway. It was like he'd never lived here at all. For the first few weeks, Lily asked about him constantly. Where is Daddy sleeping now? Did Daddy eat dinner? Does Daddy miss me? I answered carefully, gently, always protecting the edges of the truth like they might cut her if I wasn't careful enough. At night, after she fell asleep, I replayed the mediation in my head. The calm way he'd said it, the ease with which he'd let her go. 2 weeks after the divorce was finalized, the real reason surfaced. A mutual friend called me, someone I hadn't spoken to in months. Did you know? She asked. Know what? There was a pause, a heavy one. Daniel's been seeing someone at work, for over a year, his boss. The room tilted. Her name was Rachel Mercer. The promotion, the travel, the distance. None of it had been about stress. I thought you knew, my friend said softly. Everyone at his company does. They've been open about it since the separation. After I hung up, I sat at the kitchen table for a long time. Lily was at school. The house was silent. I called my lawyer. Does this change anything? I asked. Legally, no. Emotionally, everything. The next call came from Daniel's mother. She was crying before she finished the first sentence. Is it true? She asked. Did he really give up custody? Yes. Why would he do that? You'd have to ask him. She came over that weekend, brought gifts, read Lily her favorite books, stayed too long because she didn't want to leave. I raised him better than this, she said, shaking. I don't recognize my own son. Neither did I. A month later, I ran into Daniel. A coffee shop, Saturday morning. Lily was holding my hand. He was there with her. Rachel. Daniel looked uncomfortable. Rachel looked triumphant. Hi, Daniel said. Can I talk to Lily? Lily hid behind my leg. No, I said. She's my daughter. You gave that up. Rachel stepped forward. You don't have to make this difficult. I picked Lily up and walked out. That night, Lily asked me why Daddy lived with someone else. I told her the truth, carefully. He made choices that didn't include us. 6 months later, Daniel's lawyer sent a letter. He wanted visitation. I agreed, on my terms. Supervised, limited, safe. The first visit was awkward. Gifts instead of presents. Apologies without understanding. Lily barely spoke. A year has passed now. Daniel still visits once a month. Rachel travels with him, posts pictures online. Lily calls him by his first name. I don't feel angry anymore. Anger requires caring. What I feel is clarity. When Daniel said those 4 words, he revealed everything about who he was. And in doing so, he gave me exactly what I needed. My daughter is safe. She is loved. She is chosen. Every single day.